Hello all, welcome to yet another live session of Narayana IAS Academy. So this is Sureka Vaska presenting to you the daily news analysis. So as usual, for today's discussion, we've picked up very important topics from both the Hindu as well as the Indian Express that become extremely important and relevant for the UPSC CSE examination. So let us actually begin the day. So before that, please excuse me for my sore throat if I actually cough in between or sneeze. So now let us actually start our discussion with the motivation. So what is actually written behind me? You become what you believe. So this actually says that the clarity of your thoughts, your beliefs as well as your actions have to be extremely positive, as well as it has to be always focused on what you want to achieve so that you become what you believe in. So having said this, let us actually move forward to see what are all the initiatives that we at Narayana IAS Academy have actually brought forward in order to ease your preparation for the UPSC CSE examination, both for the 2025 as well as the 2026 examination. So here, this is a brand new initiative that we've actually brought about. This is a 110 days self-study planner for the upcoming prelims examination in May 2025. So here this can actually be downloaded from our app. So this will be available for you, where this is actually an intensive study plan which will actually give you a strategic day-to-day study plan. That is, this will actually constitute your day, what is the subject you will be covering that particular day, and in that subject what is the theme, and in that theme what are the sub themes that you will be covering, and corresponding to the sub themes we have also mapped the weightage of the current affairs questions, or the PYQ questions that is the questions that have been asked from these particular themes and sub themes in the previous year. So we've actually mapped the weightage of the questions that have already appeared from this particular theme in this particular sheet, and corresponding to this you will also have the topics that you'll have to study for the current affairs. Okay, so here we will actually mention the name of the topics as well. So what subject you will study, like for example polity, under that you're going to study constitution. So that is the theme, and the sub themes will be making of the constitution, salient features of the constitution, amendments to the constitution, etc. And also you will be reading about various fundamental rights, duties, DPSP, citizenship, union and territories, etc. And parallelly to that, what are or how many PYQs have been asked and what has been the weightage of this particular topic over the past 10 years. And also we have actually mapped the current affairs for the past 1 year from January 2024 till current date, that is February 2025, and we've given you the list of topics that you need to be aware of so that you are in parallel or in the same page with that of the static as well as the dynamic topic. So please do make use of this opportunity, and it's still not too late. Please do have this handy and go through your topics one by one. Now, moving forward, our other initiatives include, we have a 1-year prelims cum mains integrated course for the 2026 examination, and also a 2-year integrated course for the 2027 examination. And the total instruction hours will be 1000, of which 800 will be dedicated to our GS as well as CSAT course, and 200 hours will be dedicated exclusively to the current affairs, where you will actually have the current affairs expert faculty actually teaching you these particular topics. Also, I told you about the micro schedule, that is a detailed daily study plan that we've actually provided. That is a 110-day study plan, and also all this will actually be instructed to you by our expert faculty who are experienced educators in their respective domains, and also have been in this journey of examination, that is this marathon of the UPSC examination, and have also been to the interview stage. And followed by that, in order to analyze and to give you the feedback, we have a regular testing mechanism through our Saksham, that is our test series, as well as personalized feedback that our mentors actually provide to you. Okay, so that you can actually improvise on your performance compared to that of your previous performances. Now, having said that, let us actually move quickly into our discussion. Okay, so we've actually taken 4 topics for discussion today, and the first topic will be leaning or the first topic will be learning with artificial intelligence. So this particular article has been picked up from page number 12 of the Indian Express, where we will be discussing about what is the transformative impact that artificial intelligence has on education. So recently there has actually been a meeting, okay, of the WEF at Davos, and over here they have actually realized the transformative potential that artificial intelligence actually has on the 21st century education. So here we'll be discussing about what is this artificial intelligence and how has been the transformation of education worldwide. That is, it has actually transformed from talk and chalk traditional methods to artificial intelligence or technologically based education, and what are the significance of it. At the same time, what is the disadvantage. All these things will actually be discussed in this particular article, and this particular article will be discussed for you in the mains perspective, because education forms an important part of your governance, okay, part of the syllabus. Now moving forward, the second article, that is pulses and Atmanirbharta. So here, recently in the budget 2025-2026, what happens, the government has actually come up with a national mission on pulses, which is actually a 6-year mission. So here we will be seeing what is the mission, what is the key objective of the mission, and what are the crops it actually targets, and why pulses are important, what are pulses, what are the geographical conditions that are required for the cultivation of pulses, and why India has actually been importing a lot of pulses, whether we are the largest importer, exporter or producer, and also in case if we are largest importers, which are the countries and what are all the crops we actually import. So that becomes important for the prelims examination. So this is actually a prelims based article that we will be discussing. Now moving forward, the third article is the US WHO exit. You know, right, as soon as Mr. Donald Trump has actually taken up the presidency in the United States of America. So, following Joe Biden, he has actually taken some of the drastic measures which he considers is rational enough for the United States, because he actually focuses on the America First policy. So, this initiatives or the steps that were actually taken up by Mr. Trump, Mr. President, that actually includes withdrawing or stepping out from the World Health Organization, and also moving out of the Paris climate deal. Okay, so here it is not only important for us to know that United States has actually walked out of it, but post their stepping out or walking out, what is going to be the repercussion for the other or the global economies across is what is much more important for the examination. So even in this WHO article, we, apart from knowing what this UN specialized agency actually aims at, we need to know what is going to be the funding contingency that this organization is going to face, because funding becomes an important part of your prelims, because once there was a question on funding of the International Monetary Fund. Okay, so how that actually works, the IMF gives loan in which of the following cases to which countries, and which country was the borrower of how much, all that becomes important. Next, the final article for discussion. So this again becomes your prelims article, and then the final article for discussion has been picked up from the Hindu, page number 7. Cess and surcharge continue to shrink the state's tax share. So here we will be discussing about what is this concept of cess, whether it is a tax on tax, and why is it actually imposed, is there any kind of constitutional or legal backing, and the cess that is actually levied by whether the central or the state government, that particular revenue actually goes into the pockets of whether the center or the state. What are the discrepancies or the challenges that the states actually face with respect to that of the cess and the surcharge levy, whether this actually comes under the devolution pool or not, all that we will be discussing about. Okay, so having discussed about, so this will be the last article, post which we will actually be solving a mains practice question as well as 3 prelims practice questions that were taken up yesterday by Yogesh sir. So now, learning with AI. So this is a very, very simple article. So I'll actually tell you like a story, and you'll have to just follow that. Okay. So learning with AI actually happens to be our very first article. So here, what this particular article talks about is the significance of artificial intelligence. So there has been the advent of artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence actually has its intrusion in every possible sector of the economy, not only with respect to governance, with respect to education. If you see healthcare, and if you see other sectors and all, okay, like you have online classes, then you have other facilities in healthcare, etc., or your software, and they actually can develop programs, and this is why it is displacing many number of jobs, is what we actually come across. So here there has been a recent meeting that had actually the World Economic Forum meeting that was taking place in Davos, where they actually realized that artificial intelligence has an immense transformative potential. Okay, so that is specifically with respect to education, because earlier the traditional education was much focused on, or it was solely dependent or leaned towards the knowledge or the wisdom that the teacher has, because we believe, right, what I teach is what you believe that it is right. So that is a traditional form of education that was actually handled by a method that is talk and chalk. That is, I talk and then I actually chalk whatever I had spoken to you on the board. So this is the traditional form of education. However, right now, if you see, with the advent of artificial intelligence as well as technology, specifically during the COVID, we saw that we had the advent of what? MOOC, that is massive open online classes. So we have massive open online classes. So this massive open online classes actually became more personalized, more efficient, and more easier. Why? It was actually tailored as per every student need with the advent of artificial intelligence. So this is what we'll be discussing in this article. So here, artificial intelligence in education is what we will see. So it is your duty to actually do your homework and understand how AI plays an important role in various other sectors like governance, education, healthcare, space technology, defense technology, okay, biotechnology. Of course, this is a part of healthcare. So all this you need to know. Okay. So this is what it is. Now let us quickly move forward in order to understand what this article is talking about. So earlier, there has actually been a mains question in 2020 with respect to how the digital initiatives in India had contributed to the functioning of the education system in the country. So similarly, as you see here, since education is important, anything related or surrounding the education, okay, so what is this National Education Policy 2020? Has any recommendations been brought about by the Ministry of Education? Whether there is any other recommendations brought about by the UGC? What is the status of elementary education or primary education, and what is the investment on higher education in India? All that becomes important. Now let's move forward and quickly understand why this article was in the news. So there was a recently concluded summit in Davos, that is the World Economic Forum Summit. So this was actually under the theme Collaboration for the Intelligent Age, and this actually highlighted the transformative potential of AI in the 21st century education. So all this is what to say, introduction I had already given, right? So now moving forward, we will see how the education systems across the world have actually transformed. So the education systems across the world have transformed from the talk and chalk method to advanced artificial intelligence integrated online education. So what happened? First, it was the talk and chalk, that is the conventional or the traditional type, where you have to be present in the classroom and the teacher will come take the lecture. You will have tests, you will actually take down the notes and go. Then it actually transformed or transcended to the online education. After that, artificial intelligence got integrated into this online education. So It is driven by the technological advancements, and it also provides a flexible learning environment because you can listen to the lectures whenever you have time, and this has also demanded for more personalized learning. Okay, so depending on my needs, for example, if I'm good at polity and I need more lectures on geography, then there are artificial there is artificial intelligence, and there are designed platforms for that in order to analyze my performance across the subject and provide specialized care and feedback based on my needs. Okay, so traditional education was more of teacher centric, where there was talk and chalk, there was more of static content, and notes, books, etc. were involved. And now it transcended to the online education, where this was also teacher centric only, but there was e-content, that is the PDFs and the Word documents were shared across, and then you have massive open online content platforms, and then you have other educational platforms, that is through the apps. One such example is also this Narayana IAS Academy app, where you'll actually have the courses, the NCRT, the GS courses, so that whenever you're free or whenever you are in need, you can see. Next, there is AI based education. So this is what is, it's actually an amalgamation. So here it is actually integrated with this online education and provides personalized learning, where you have e-content, where you have MOOC, and also you have AI based platforms. Okay, so now moving forward, let us see what is this traditional talk and chalk method. It's easy, right? Here education was delivered via lectures, where teachers were considered the primary source of knowledge. But what were the challenges here? There was fixed curriculum. Okay, so there would be standardized curriculum. There is actually no room or little room for customization based on the needs of individual students. Next one, there was limited accessibility, because the quality education earlier, not right now, earlier it was actually restricted only to a particular group of students in a particular geographical area. And also there was a standardized learning, where the learning was uniform and there was minimum consideration for differences in the learning styles as well as the learning paces and methods. Next, if you move on, there was emergence of online education. Okay, specifically during the COVID, we know the relevance of it. So this actually enabled increased accessibility, because there was the advent of massive open online courses. There were virtual classrooms also. So with this, education became accessible to a global audience. Not only in that particular region the people can learn, it got accessible to a larger audience across the globe as well. And also there was flexible learning, because at your own pace and convenience, and there is no constraints of your presence is not mandatory at a particular classroom for a particular schedule. Next one, there were wide range of courses including high quality education to a broader audience. Next one, it was cost effective, because many of the institutions actually came up with the the apps or courses just for free. Okay, in order to help the students to actually get the content at an economic rate, and also to increase their enrollment. Okay, next one, this however had a number of challenges. First one is the engagement issues, because even during the lecture, if you have some doubts, what happened, you could not actually stop the teacher and ask your doubts, such like how you do in an offline class. Okay, so this is what engagement issues was there, and limited personalization, because it did not cater to the individual learning. I mean, individual learning, online classes did not help. However, with the advent of AI, this was able to be achieved. So here is what we'll see: integration of AI in education. So first one, there was adaptive learning. Okay, so AI provided the tailored educational content that is actually suitable for every student. So this enhanced the personalized learning experience. Next one, there was automated administrative task. Okay, so automated administrative task as in, for example, you take attendance, or your syllabus, or you have to create timetable. So all that will be once fed into the AI, this will be taken care of. Okay, so that the teacher can only focus on teaching. So this is one. Next one, intelligent education materials. That is, they give you more smart content such as interactive contents, okay, including puzzles, quizzes, etc., so that it will make you remember the things that you learned more. Okay. Next one is virtual instructors is actually being provided, because AI empowered instructors can provide real-time assistance and feedback to students 24 hours of time also. Now, let's move forward and see the power of AI in personalized learning. Of course, you have a personalized curriculum. I told you, based on the strength and weaknesses of the students, the curriculum is designed. Next one, they have AI tutors, because they actually provide personalized exercises. They will tell you, if you're not good at this, then you can actually supplement your, that book A can be supplemented by book B in order to make you easily, understandable. So here it actually meets the students' needs as well as the pace. They provide also smart content in the form of textbook, assignments, lesson plans, etc. And finally, smart classrooms are there that will enable interactive sessions, the group projects, and then real-time feedback. Now moving forward, let us see AI in education. I told you, of course, personalized learning. There is an AI tutor. There are smart classrooms, virtual laboratories, because certain kind of chemistry experiments can be dangerous, right? Which will actually deal with a lot of acids, etc. So in that cases, what happens? If virtual reality (VR) is actually provided, what happens? You can learn a lot of concepts by that virtual reality itself without having the need to be present in that particular space. Next one. Intelligent student support system is there. Then you have augmented reality and virtual reality, educational gamification through games, puzzles, crosswords, etc. You can actually learn. And then AI based proctoring. That is, what do you mean by proctoring? The invigilation. So, there is actually, if you are listening in the online class, which is AI integrated, they can know whether you are the student who is actually present over there using your, iris scan, etc. So this is one thing. Next one. So this is these are all the power of AI in personalized learning. Now moving forward, it provides the transforming assessment and support, right? What is the assessment? It gives you reliable feedback. It Yeah. So this actually gives reliable feedback, and it reduces the workload on the teachers. And also there is academic integrity, because it realizes your facial recognition, your eye tracking, and then your audio analysis, whether it is you who is talking or not. Right now you are talking or not, whether it is recorded or not, everything it can find out. Also, it provides intelligent student support systems. That is, certain learning platforms integrate their platform with the AI, so that whenever, even at 11 o'clock, if you actually type for your query, there will be chatbots, that is artificial assistants, artificial intelligence giving assistance to you through answers. Okay, so this is what is the intelligent student support system. Next one, making the learning engaging and effective. Of course, we saw about the gamification, we saw virtual laboratories, okay, so that you are good at scientific disciplines. Interactive simulations are there, that is, very difficult concepts of physics, chemistry, or biology can also be studied like that. Next is augmented reality or virtual reality. This will make the understanding easier of very complex subjects. That is, you can even go on a virtual field trip. Okay, so this is what is the potential of AI in order to make your understanding easier in the field of education. So, what does this particular what to say rule or the National Education Policy of 2020 talk about artificial intelligence? It actually recognizes that is the National Education Policy of 2020, very important. It recognizes that artificial intelligence has a great potential, and so it has to be integrated with the Indian education in order to deliver very efficient, effective, and accessible education. This is what it actually says. And following this, there are CBSE schools that has introduced artificial intelligence as well as Internet of Things from grade 6 to 10. And also, if you see, India's first AI university is at Karjat near Mumbai, and this highlights the growing focus on developing AI skills. Okay, so it actually uses machine learning, data analytics in students, etc. So this is what NEP talks about the artificial intelligence. Now finally, what are the potential disadvantages that AI can have on education? First one, of course, there will be lack of human interaction, because if we rely too much on the artificial intelligence, what happens is that there will be lack of face-to-face interaction. So only face-to-face interactions will actually help a person in order to develop the soft skills, and also it will actually be a boost to your emotional intelligence. That's when you know how to handle people, how to respect people. Okay, so back in those days when we used to be at school, when the teacher comes in, all of us actually stands up and wish them. So this was considered mandatory in my school. But these days what happened, the teacher comes, and sadly she actually keeps taking the lecture, she shouts, she actually tries to control. But you guys, what you do, you actually put us on, you put yourself on mute, you are either on your phone, or you're looking actually through your Instagram or YouTube, you play some random games, or you just now woke up and then you start attending the classes. So this actually what to say, forbids you from developing very very important soft skills. So what you guys will do when there comes a situation where all these work from homes are gone and you have to be at office at 8 a.m. and there has to be strict discipline for 10 hours, it becomes difficult, right? So this AI, that is, the easier it actually comes, the more difficult it actually costs you in terms of soft skills as well as emotional intelligence, or EQ. The next one is job displacement. So as these writing software programs like Python, then C++, Java, etc., all this coding are given by artificial intelligence like chat gpt, DeepSeek itself. So this actually might cut down on the costs of the organization, so they might actually remove people from the job. So there might be what, there are job displacement, because automation, in certain educational jobs, can be involving repetitive tasks. The next one, there are environmental impact. You can ask me how artificial intelligence has environmental impact. All these AI and associated technologies actually consume a lot of energy. So a lot of resources need to be fed. Okay, so here this actually contributes to the emission of carbon. So this is going to be a huge threat to the environment. Next one, the fourth one is high implementation cost. Of course, when you actually integrate AI with that of education, it's going to be technologically advanced and of course very very expensive. And this is further going to enlarge the gulf, or you can say it is going to further enlarge your digital divide that is already existing in a country like India with such a huge population. Okay, and next one is privacy and equity concerns, because the data, I told you, right, the proctoring is done through seeing your voice analytics, seeing your eye movement, seeing your facial expression. So the data that is collected for that purpose can be misused. Okay, so there is also concerns of equal access to AI based education across different socio-economic groups. That is also a big concern. So with this, we've actually completed a very very important topic, that is artificial intelligence in the field of education. Okay, so now your homework is to do what is AI, what are the AI regulations and the laws, okay, whether Digital Data Protection Act actually covers this particular artificial intelligence or not, and what are the constitutional provisions that should actually safeguard your right to privacy. Okay, so all these things you need to know so that you are actually prepared for either a mains answer or any kind of legislation in your prelims exam or any kind of question in your interview stage. So now let us actually move forward to a next interesting topic, that is pulses and Atmanirbhar. So here you need to understand, for me also it is very quite confusing that what is cereals, what is pulses, then what is rice, and what do you mean by millets and all those things. So there's one simple thing I would say before starting this article. So the cereal is actually a bigger family. Okay, so under this cereal only comes your millets. And your millets actually include what? It has jowar, bajra, ragi, etc. So this is what it is. And the cereals are, that is which has millets as a part, are rich in carbohydrates. And these cereals are what? They are grassy plants. It also includes your what? Rice, wheat, etc. These are all cereals and these are all millets. Okay. So this is what is the difference. And now the next one is, what are pulses? Pulses are nothing but they are leguminous plants. So what do you mean by leguminous plants? See, the plants cannot actually absorb nitrogen which is required for their growth directly from the atmosphere. So, there are certain nitrogen fixing bacteria in the soil like Nitrobacter, aceti, etc. So, these plants that actually help in fixation of nitrogen in the soil that is required for the growth of the plants are called as leguminous plants, and pulses are such leguminous plants. And P for P, that means pulses are rich in proteins. Okay. So this is what you can ask me, give me examples of pulses. Your tur dal, in which you make your dal as well as your sambar, right? So this is an example. Now, let us actually move forward and understand. So, this article talks about the recent budget announcing a national plan. That is, it's a 6-year program that is going to focus on self-reliance on pulses. How do you get self-reliance? It is by reducing the import dependency. So, India, actually, it is very surprising. India is the largest producer of pulses. It is the largest importer of pulses and the largest consumer of pulses also. Okay, in order to beat the odds, what happens now? Production should actually be high and consumption should be lowered, and also the self reliance actually has to be increased. So that is the meaning of Atmanirbharta. Okay, so this is what it is. So here we'll be discussing about pulse production in India and mission for Atmanirbharta, that is self reliance in pulses, because this becomes important from crops, that is in prelims and for geography, and for mains examination, it is under GS paper 3, economy, agriculture as well as food security. So, now let us quickly move forward and understand there has been a previous year question with respect to MSP that is provided for the pulses. Okay. Again, the concept of MSP is very important, and why MSP is needed, whether MSP is actually given only for certain kinds of crops, whether it is given for commercial crops or not, all that you need to know. Now, moving forward, why this particular article is in the news? Because the 2025-26 budget has actually allocated around 1000 crores towards this particular mission for self-reliance on pulses, and this specifically focuses on 3 different pulses. One is masoor dal, next is urad dal, next is your arhar or tur dal. So your tur dal, this is also called as pigeon pea. So remember, tur dal, pigeon pea. Next is urad dal, that is black gram. And finally, masoor dal, that is your red lentil. So these are the pulses, excuse me. These are the pulses that are actually covered under this particular scheme. So let's quickly see what the scheme is all about. It is a 6-year scheme that is based on 3 things. One is the MSP based procurement. So what do you mean by this? The government actually gives MSP for these crops. Okay, what are the crops? That is the urad dal, masoor dal as well as the tur dal. So the government actually gives MSP and it procures. So what are the bodies that purchases the pulses from the registered farmers is that? First one, you have the NAFED as well as the NCCF. NAFED actually stands for your National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation of India. Okay, so your NAFED, that is your National Agriculture Cooperation Marketing Federation of India. And the next one is NCCF. This stands for your National Cooperative Commercial Federation of India. Okay, so these two bodies will purchase the pulses from the registered farmers under the formal agreements. This is to guarantee fair pricing for the farmers and also to maintain very the price stability in the market. And post, the first one, it focuses on MSP based procurement. Next one focuses on post harvest storage, so that it reduces the post harvest losses. So after harvest, what are all the enhanced method for storage of these pulses is actually decided. Next one, focus crops. They are tur dal, that is pigeon pea. So it was once a long duration crop, that is the harvest is done, that is between 250 to 270 days, that is more than half a year, right? But now they have actually reduced the duration 150 to 180 days. However, the production is actually less. Next one, it focuses on urad dal, that is black gram. It is a very important pulse that is actually used in the diets of the Indian households. Next one is masoor dal, that is the red lentil. This witnesses, and right now it is witnessing the very high import levels in the recent years. Now let us quickly move. So we saw what is the mission. Now let's understand what are pulses. I told you it is an important leguminous crop that is grown for their dry grains or their seeds, which are key protein in the vegetarian diets, and these do not include any kind of the green vegetables like the greeny crops like the vegetables. And also they enhance the soil fertility, because I told you they are leguminous, they help in the fixation of nitrogen. So what are the major pulses in India? It includes the chana dal, that is the Bengal gram, the pigeon pea, the green gram, the black gram, the masoor dal, the rajma, mattar, kabuli chana, that is your chana chole bhature, and then the lobia, that is black eyed pea, etc. If you see the map over here, this is actually the pulses map of India. So here, if you don't see, I will tell you the important states producing pulses include Madhya Pradesh, next is Maharashtra, and then you see Rajasthan over here, and then you see UP, and then finally you see Karnataka. So these are the important states that actually produce pulses in India. Now moving forward, what are the growing conditions required for pulses? Temperature of around 20 to 27 degree, rainfall of around 20 to 60 centimeter, soil type should be sandy, loamy soil, very important. And the seasons are, it can actually, the pulses can grow in three different seasons, that is different pulses grow in different seasons, right? So the season, that is the Kharif season, which is actually from, so Kharif season, which starts in June and goes till October, there you actually have moong, urad as well as tur, because they need warm climates throughout the growth. And next you have the Rabi season, that grows from November till the month of March. So that time there is 60% of production of the pulses, where you have gram, chana, masoor, arhar, etc. because they have mild cold seasons also during the sowing and also during growth, and specifically during the harvest they have to be warm conditions. And finally the Zaid, this is from March to again June. So there also there are certain pulses that actually grow in this particular period. Okay. Now let's move forward and see what has been the import trends. See, the numbers are not important, but the trends are very important. Whether India is the largest importer or not, over the past 5 years, the import in the pulses has actually reduced or not. The MSP that has been given to the farmers in order to procure the pulses is actually more than that of the Kharif crops and Rabi crops or not. So these are only important. So in the pulses import trends, I'll just take you through. 2017 period, the imports actually declined. So there was good, step towards the self-reliance, and this was specifically with respect to matar, okay, as well as chana, that is chickpea. Then if you see 2023-2024, there was actually a severe drought condition, because of which again the imports actually raised, and that reached a record of around 16.76 lakh tons. That is masoor dal alone. So if you see, there was totally 47.38 lakh tons that was actually being imported versus 24.96. Okay, so in 2017 period, there was only 25 lakh tons of import. Then if you see, in 2020, this rose to 47.3%, I mean lakh tons. Okay, so see the huge jump. Next one, in 2024, the imports actually was 3.28 versus 2.09. Again, there was actually a significant 56% increase. Then in 2024, and that is current fiscal, if you see, import has already crossed the 40 lakh tons, and specifically tur dal and all have actually exceeded so many lakh tons. Next one, what is the future projection? It is projected that it will expected to reach 5.9 billion. This is the amount that we actually spend on imports. It's going to reach this much value from the previous. So if you see, only once there was actually a decline in the imports. Okay, so that was during 2017 and 18, and after that there was constant surge only in the pulses. Next, so this is what it is. If you see, import of major pulses in lakh tons across the years, they have actually given for peas, chickpea, lentil, pigeon pea, etc. So this has come in today's newspaper. You can see that in your Indian Express explained page. Next one, key factors. So what are the key factors? What will motivate a country to import more and more from another country? One, if there is lot of drought and there is shortfall in the production of a particular item, and in this case it's pulses. Okay, so here the 2023-2024 drought caused the production to fall, so this increased the import dependency. Also, there are policy factors, like there are duty free imports. The government actually does not impose any kind of duty if you import certain kind of pulses. If it is there, what happens? Rather than taking itna mehnat, rather than taking so much of effort in order to produce more pulses, what will you do? You will actually import it, because there's no import duty. Because of that also, there was not more production. Next one, there is price disparity. That is, the price of the pulse as well as the MSP that the government was providing was almost same. Okay, the price was around 7,500 and MSP provided was around 7,700. So it did not incentivize the farmers much. And the next one, reliance on the global market. So India actually imports pulses from countries like Mozambique, Tanzania, Myanmar, Canada as well as Australia. And specifically, if you see, mutter is imported from Canada, Russia and Turkey. Can you believe it? Canada. Next one, masoor, imported from Canada, Russia and Turkey. Again, if you see tur or arhar, this is sourced mainly from Mozambique, Tanzania as well as Myanmar. So, now let's actually move forward and understand what is the impact of increasing import. Obviously, there will be economic pressure because there is a lot of foreign exchange, that is rupee outflow, that is actually happening, because when I'm importing, I need to pay the standard currency, right? Foreign exchange, that is nothing but in dollars. So, most of my rupee is actually going out. So, that is what higher imports will lead to, the increased foreign exchange outflow. So, there is economic pressure, and this will disincentivize the farmers also. Why? Because the duty free imports and stagnant domestic prices, this will reduce the interest of the farmers to cultivate. Also, there are food security risks, okay, because heavy reliance on the imports exposes India to global price volatility and supply chain disruptions. Because of all of this only, what happened? We had actually came up with the National Food Security Mission from 2007 to 2008 that actually focused on boosting the production of rice, wheat and pulses through expansion of, that is, expand your cultivated areas and then improve your productivity under the National Food Security Mission, is what the government told in 2008 and 2007. Now, what are the hurdles in achieving self-reliance? So, we saw what are pulses, what are the growth conditions. Despite being the highest producer, why are we being the importer is also we saw. And from what all countries we import and what all we import, all that also we saw. We also saw the trends in the imports. Also, we saw why there are actually more focus on the imports, because there is actually import free duty. This is disincentivizing the farmer, etc. Now, in order to abolish all this and to increase the self reliance, what needs to happen? There has to be more production in the economy, right? So, there are hurdles, however, in achieving that. Why? Because there are agricultural constraints because of this crop cycle. For example, if you see this low yield tur or arhar dal, here they are actually trying to cut short the crop cycle to 150, 180 days. But then that is actually giving a very less productivity of only 15 to 16 quintals as against the earlier 20 quintals. Okay. Next one, there are geographic limitations. That is, pulses actually grow only in the rain dependent areas, specifically in this Marathwada Vidarbha region in Maharashtra, as well as certain portions of northern Karnataka. And here also what happens is that there are limited alternative crops. Okay, these areas actually can grow only pulses because for the other crops there are no conducive geographical conditions. Next one, there are policy challenges. I told you that is impact of duty free imports as well as unattractive price margins with that of the price of the crop versus price of the, that is the MSP. This is what it is. Now, moving forward, next one is climate related risks. Okay, that is, the pulses are predominantly growing in the rain fed areas, right? So, this actually makes them highly susceptible to different climatic patterns like droughts, etc. And also crop preferences. Rather than taking this much of effort, that too for a crop where the MSP is not also very high, what happened? The farmers actually depend more on the other crops, that is commercial crops, that can also include cotton, that can also include sugarcane, etc., for better return. So these are the hurdles that the this particular pulses is actually facing. Next important article that we'll be discussing is the US WHO exit, a chance to reshape global health. So here, first we'll be discussing about the WHO, what kind of organization it is, whether India has been a founding member of WHO or not, and what is actually the major reason for the walking out of the United States from there, and because of which the funding structure, or there is going to be contingency in the funding in the WHO, and in order to bridge the gap, how and why it is important for the leadership of the global south is what we will discuss. So here we'll be discussing about the World Health Organization, important for prelims as well as the GS paper 2, and for mains under important international institutions, agencies and fora, the structure as well as mandate. Now, let's quickly move forward and see a previous year question. This was on an index that was released by which of the organization. So, organization and indices important again. Now, let's see. So, on January 20, the United States actually declared an executive order that it is actually withdrawing from the World Health Organization. So, this is going to affect the organization in terms of two. That is, both funding will be affected, and next one is functionality is going to be affected. Okay. So, also this is a good thing to understand why it is not, advisable to lay all your eggs in one basket. That is, in WHO's case, you need not, or you should not, as a world forum, you should not incline towards only the developed nations. So once they walk out of your life, even in life, I'm telling you, don't depend too much emotionally on one person. It's going to be extremely difficult, over the long run when they walk out, which they surely will. So, however, the decision also presents to rethink the global health governance, reduce the dependency on the Western nations. Because what happens when the West was there and when they're giving more fund, the diseases that could actually affect the US alone were taken care of, or they were given the first priority, ignoring the dying nations like Africa, the Democratic Republic of Congo. All those were ignored. Now now the US walks out of WHO. What these guys are going to do? They are so concerned. Okay, so let's see what it is. So now, moving forward, So, what is WHO? It's a specialized agency of the United Nations established in 1948, headquartered in Switzerland, and this aims to promote the universal health, to control the diseases, and also coordinate the international sorry international health responses. Now, moving forward, if we see the structure, it operates in a three-tier system. First is the World Health Assembly. This is the decision-making body and it has 194 members. Next one, there is an executive board. This implements the decisions of the World Health Assembly with 34 elected members. And finally, there is a secretariat which is led by the Director General, and he is the current Director General, Mr. or Dr. Tedros. Okay, this is what you need to know. And this Director General again is actually elected by the World Health Assembly. So World Health Assembly actually happens to be a very important decision making body, and that is where these 194 members are actually a part of. So we saw what is WHO, the structure of WHO, what are the key functions. Of course, disease control and eradication. So this actually led an effective fight against the COVID, polio, tuberculosis, HIV, malaria, etc. Next one, in case of health emergencies, what kind of response you give, okay? So that is manages the pandemics and the health crisis like Ebola, Mpox, etc. Next one is research and policy development, because they actually come up with the reports as well as, other international regulations. And finally, vaccination and health program, that is in case of India also, that actually supported the mission Indradhanush and all those things. So here if you see, they support COVAX, Universal Immunization Program, and also the National Health Initiatives. Now, moving forward, let us actually see WHO and India. India has been a founding member and it has an office in New Delhi. So WHO supports Ayushman Bharat, National TB Elimination Program, as well as the eradication of polio program, excuse me. So now, moving forward, let us see the funding structure. It's easy only. How funding happens? See, the members are there, right? When you want to become, for example, take a gym. If you want to be a member of a gym, you need to pay an annual fee. So that fee is called as your assessed contribution. So in order to be a member, there is a mandatory membership fee that is paid by the member states. Next one is voluntary contribution. So what is this voluntary contribution? This is actually targeted towards specific programs. For example, the polio eradication. For example, AMR, that is fighting AMR, antimicrobial resistance. And these are unpredictable. And here, when people do not contribute, what happens? There will be financial instability in the organization. So now, this is where there's a problem. So since the developed nation, that is the United States, for its membership used to pay more than other countries, what happens? Its withdrawal is actually going to affect the funding and the functionality of the organization. Let's see. Okay, let's see how it is. So there's going to be a financial strain. Here, US is one of the WHO's largest funder. So this is actually going to impact the global health programs, obviously. And there's also going to be institutional weakness, because there will be, what happens? There will be a lot of geopolitical shifts that is actually happening, because when US walks out, then what happens? Any kind of ally to the US may also walk out. If they don't work out, what if US actually puts tariffs on them? Okay, so all these are the fears that are actually happening. Next one, if we see reduction in the global health inequities. So, if you see, so far I told you, right, since it's the bigger countries, that is the developed countries actually contributing more to the funding of the WHO, there was actually focus on the diseases that were affecting these countries. Like for example, if you see Mpox, that is monkeypox, when this outbreak actually happened, the vaccines were ready at the US, but it was extremely scarce at the Democratic Republic of Congo. Okay, so this actually led to mass mortality of the people, which is actually ethically wrong, right, for an organization to do. You cannot be inclined to the people who give you more money. Okay, next one. So the exit of the US could serve as a catalyst for reducing such inequities. So here again, these can actually be reduced, promoting alternative funding sources, and also there has to be a balanced decision making, is what the article says. Now, this is where the global south leadership becomes important. So, what the author says is it's more important right now for all the organizations as well as regional groupings, especially like the BRICS, then countries from South Asia, Southeast Asia, should come together in order to take up the leadership and to fill the void that the leaving of the US that has actually created over here. So that is what BRICS should actually become strong. This is what it is telling, right? Yeah, so BRICS should become strong. Then there has to be training, the public health as well as global health experts investment has to be there. And finally, regional collaboration should be there in training and research, strengthening expertise where it is most needed. Now, moving forward, what are the reforms that is needed? Of course, decentralization. So it is actually located in Geneva, right? Switzerland. So it has to be relocated from this Geneva to the country or to one of the countries. For example, you take Manila, or it can be New Delhi, it can be Africa also, where they are actually of much more importance where the disease breakout is more, because few days back also we discussed about the breaking out of leprosy, right? So this is important. Next one, there has to be structural efficiency, that is their bureaucracy has to be streamlined. They have to reduce the administrative overhead and also reallocate the resources on the healthcare programs, etc. Finally, there has to be greater representation of more and more countries from all across the globe, is what the article actually says. Now, final article we'll be discussing about cess and surcharge. See, I'll tell you like a story. There is yeah. So there's something called as tax, right? The government actually receives tax revenues. What do you mean by tax revenue? That is when the government imposes tax on me, this actually becomes a revenue for the government. So that revenue is called as tax revenue. So this tax revenue actually has to be shared by the center with the state also. Okay, like 41%, 40%, it has to be shared off according to the recommendations of the Finance Commission. So this is the entire mechanism. That is when the union government is imposing a tax on me, and then they have a revenue. Out of that, they actually have to, that is called as a tax revenue, and they have to share it with the respective states on respective parameters which has been told by the Finance Commission. But now there are concepts like cess and surcharge. For example, for the purpose of education, for the purpose of Swachh Bharat, I can actually impose a tax on tax. Okay, a tax on a tax, that is actually called as cess, and that can be used only for that particular purpose. Okay, for example, like sanitation, if I'm actually uh, imposing sorry for that, in case I'm imposing a tax on any kind of material or an article, I mean, which is actually used for by Swachh Bharat, that I actually have to be used towards this particular sanitation only, that is called as cess. Whereas surcharge is a term, is nothing but it is levied on an already existing tax. For example, there will be income tax. That is, people who are actually earning up to 1 crore or more, they'll have to pay a surcharge. And also it is levied on companies which are having a higher profit. Okay, so this is what is called a surcharge. So now we'll be discussing about cess and surcharge, and these both are not shared by the center with the states, and that is why it is becoming a problem where the states are saying, see, if you don't give that, then our share of revenue is getting reduced, it is getting hit, right? That is what the other states say. So this is important for both the prelims and the mains. So GS paper 3, government budgeting. So now let's move forward. So now we will quickly understand. So there has been a previous year question with respect to how do you think cooperation, competition and confrontation have shaped the nature of federation in India. So basically it's between the sharing of funds, right? So there, that is why it is actually linked to this particular topic. Next one, if we see the why this particular article was there, over the years the union government has been increasingly relied on cesses as well as surcharges, which has reduced the actual revenue available for the states despite the constitutional mandate. Constitutional says that revenue sharing has to be between the states and the center. However, there is an exception to the cess and the surcharge. So this is what is the article all about. Now let's understand what is a cess. I told you it is a tax imposed on other tax. This is for a specific purpose and it must be for a designated purpose only. And it is actually excluded. It is excluded from the divisible pool. What is divisible pool? That is a portion of the central government's gross tax revenue. It actually has to share with the center. That is called as divisible pool, and this cess does not form a part of this divisible pool. That is one. Now example of the cess, as I told you, education cess, funding primary education, Swachh Bharat cess, crude oil cess, etc. Now moving on to the next concept, this is surcharge. Okay, so what is surcharge? It is an additional tax that is levied mainly by the central government to fund the expenditure of the government. And here there is no timeline and all, because for a cess they have to tell a timeline. This actually will be continuing for this much period. For 6 months I'm going to levy you one Swachh Bharat tax or educational tax, and beyond that it has to stop. But surcharge is not like that. Okay, so there is no time period for that, and here it can be used for general purposes also, not for particular purposes, and it can be levied only by the central government. For example, the surcharge on income tax, where high income individuals have to pay a surcharge. Next one is corporate tax. Okay, this is by the company that are actually earning a particular or above a particular level of profit. So this is what the concept of surcharge means. So the cess must be collected for a specific purpose. The amount collected should be transferred to a designated reserve fund. Okay, there will be a pool of funds, only there you have to keep it, and must have a sunset clause. That is, when it will get over must also actually tell, and it should not be continued for an indefinite period of time. Next one, surcharge can be imposed by the union government only, usually applied to the higher income groups and corporate taxes, and can be used for any kind of government expenditure, unlike cess, which is used only for a particular purpose. Now, moving forward, what is the legal and the constitutional basis? Article 270 of the Constitution says that any kind of tax that is levied and collected by the union is distributed between the center and the union, but the cesses are excluded from this particular divisible pool, is what the Constitution tells under Article 270 of the Constitution. Next one, 271 says that it gives the power to the parliament in order to levy a surcharge on any tax in the union list, and the revenue is exclusively retained by the state. So Constitution itself excludes such and surcharge from being a part of the divisible pool. Which are the articles? It is 270 and 271. Now moving forward, the budget 2025-2026 gives an estimate of what have been the share of cesses and surcharges in the total tax revenue. For example, if 100 rupee is the total tax revenue that is collected by the government, of which 10.97 is the share of cess and surcharge. So if 10 rupee goes away, there is only 90 rupee that is actually with you, right? 90 rupee. So from this 90 rupee only you need to share with the states. So this 90 rupee only is available or eligible for that divisible pool, is what they are saying. So divisible pool share remains below 90 per 100 collected by the center. And rise in cess and surcharges after the pandemic, what has been the stage? Pre-2020, it was 5 to 7 rupee per 100. 2021-2022, it peaked at 13. Okay, so it increased from 5 to 13. Again, it lowered to 10.97, and it's expected to be that in 2025-2026. Also, the share, that is state's share in the divisible pool, it was actually reduced from 42% to 41% according to the 15th Finance Commission. Then again, reading about Finance Commission becomes very, very important. And for southern and the eastern states, it has also declined. That is share that the center gives towards states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. Okay. Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, that actually continue to receive the largest shares because they cite their underdevelopment, their high fertility rate, their high population and all those things. But the southern states actually say that we have actually taken so much measures to curb the population. We have increased our literacy, we have increased the education, this one, we have increased our GDP. So when we've actually performed better, then we actually feel disadvantaged because you're not taking care of us, is what is the allegation placed by these developing southern states. Now, what have been the CAG observations, Controller and Auditor General? The observation says that 2.19 lakh crores of cesses were not transferred to the designated reserve funds between this particular period, and also the funds that were meant for oil industry, the development and the research were not utilized for those purposes. This is what was the observation given by the recent CAG report. Next one. What are the concerns and challenges? Obviously, the state thinks that their revenues are actually shrinking. So they also feel there is a lack of transparency because cesses are for particular um, purposes only, like education, etc. But then the CAG report also told that there were no transparency because the funds were not diverted towards those particular targets. Also, fiscal federalism is at risk because when the center excessively or overuse this power to levy the cess and the surcharge and not to actually share the states, then what happens? The fiscal federalism, which is the basic tenet of the constitution, is under question. Okay. And also the states argue that they are losing out due to the political bias because the central government is actually being opposed by these particular states like Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, etc. And also the southern and eastern states shares have declined, and this also raises the demand. Okay, so now we've actually completed with this particular article. Now let us quickly solve a question on artificial intelligence in transforming AI education. So you know that, right? Artificial intelligence actually has a great potential in transforming the education, learning, etc. in terms of accessibility, in case of efficiency, etc. So in the body, we will talk about how, because it's going to give you a personalized learning. It's going to give you automated tasks. There's going to be gamification. There's going to be AI proctoring. There's going to be personalized reports and assessments that's going to give.